Good morning, and thank you for joining today's event, a demonstration of J.D. Edwards. I'm Steve, and I'll be your host. As we get started, just a reminder of how you can participate today. Just open up your question panel on your GoToMeeting panel and type in your question, hit send, and then at the end of the session today, we'll answer any questions that you do submit. Very happy to be joined by Steve Mowchan today. Steve is a senior solutions consultant at Terillium. Steve shows several of our ERP products, and today, of course, he's going to be focusing on the J.D. Edwards product. Terillium, for anyone who's not familiar with us, is an ERP consulting firm. We specialize in implementing a variety of different ERP solutions. Those projects, while they can be complex, Terillium is very proud to have won many awards for our implementations. We credit that to our senior experienced consultants across the U.S. We employ over 170 full-time consultants who are very experienced, both with the ERP software and in your industry. We started this web series as a way to make the process of selecting and implementing ERP a little easier. So far, we have looked at sessions that try to help educate you on factors that go into your implementation and your selection of ERP. We took a look at NetSuite software, at Oracle's ERP cloud software. Yesterday, we compared cloud and on-premise systems, and today we're taking a look at the first on-premise system of the webinar series, J.D. Edwards. This afternoon at 2 p.m., we'll be joined by our president, Dave Woodworth, who will talk through factors that make your ERP project successful. So today we're focusing on J.D. Edwards. J.D. Edwards really does have a very strong community of customers. Those customers are very loyal to the product and very happy with the product. In fact, 75% of all companies that run J.D. Edwards would recommend that product to other customers. The retention in J.D. Edwards is extremely high. Again, a tight-knit group of customers that run J.D. Edwards, like J.D. Edwards, and would use J.D. Edwards again. Compare that to some of the competitors out there that state that they would not reinvest in the other products that they run. J.D. Edwards is an Oracle ERP product, and it benefits from that economy of scale that Oracle has. There is a ton of R&D that Oracle invests into all of its products, including J.D. Edwards. Some of that research and development has resulted in a lot of things that Steve will focus on in his demonstration today, and also things like, advanced forecasting, the new revenue recognition requirements, cognitive computing, things like Internet of Things, and a lot of others that Steve will show you today. Some unique things about J.D. Edwards are that as a system, it can really run on any operating system and any database. Your client in J.D. Edwards is simply a web browser, so it's an internet architected system, even though it is designed to be on-premise. You can choose to run that on-premise in your facility or put that into a private or public cloud because of its internet architecture. So you get a lot of flexibility in terms of the technology and the architecture of J.D. Edwards. User experience has been a big focus of that Oracle R&D over the past couple of years. So the ability to make your interface look and act the way you want it, the ability to do advanced searching, reporting that end users can actually do themselves has been a big boost to the J.D. Edwards product recently, and all of that kind of combining to allow you to personalize your experience. JD Edwards is a very modern product, not only from its underlying architecture and technology, but also for things like mobile apps. You can run the complete ERP system on a mobile app, and there are several dozens, in fact, of purpose-built mobile apps that allow you to do one task quickly on your smartphone. The Internet of Things has been, a big focus for JD Edwards. They have something called the Orchestrator that allows you to orchestrate your integration to sensors in trucks, on your shop floor, etc., as well as integrating with many of the cloud products that Oracle offers. From an ROI perspective, JD Edwards is a very affordable system to buy and implement, and in fact, ROI comes in the form of $7 for every dollar that you spend on your implementation. So great ROI with this product. A lot of people, when they look at on-premise versus cloud, as we talked about yesterday, people like the cloud financial implementations of paying over time. So JD Edwards allows you to do that as well. You can buy all your licenses today, or you can stretch those payments out over time to make it look like more of a cloud purchase. JD Edwards is a very complete solution. We won't be showing you a ton of these types of functional modules today. We'll go into a little bit of them, but just so you know, JD Edwards has one of the most robust lists of modules that are available, from financials, HR payroll, all of your supply chain, manufacturing projects, even industry-specific things like real estate, as well as modules like health and safety. In addition, within all of those modules, JD Edwards has some of the most robust functionality. In fact, it's relatively rare that we have to customize JD Edwards. What we find is a lot of times, diverse business requirements are able to be satisfied just by configuring all of the robust features within JD Edwards. So with that introduction to the product, I'll now turn it over to Steve Mowchan, and Steve will be showing us a live demonstration of the JD Edwards product. So Steve, thanks very much for joining us this morning. We're excited to see JD Edwards, and welcome to the webinar.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, my name is Steve Mowchan. I'm a solutions consultant with Terillium. I have quite extensive experience with ERP software. One of the things to note about JD Edwards is that I spent 10 years of my career working for companies that ran JD Edwards. So not only have I implemented it, but I've used it on a daily basis. And I can back up what Steve had mentioned about the loyalty of the customers and the users. People love this system. What I'm going to show you today is an overview of some of the navigation of JD Edwards, how you get around in the system, how you dig for data, and then a brief demo of entering sales order and getting it shipped, along with some of the really cool functionality that's part of those modules. So what you're looking at here is what you'd see when you sign on. These are, they can be considered a home page or a landing page or a dashboard. JD Edwards and Oracle have created over 50 of these pre-built, they call them pages, that are role-based. The one that I'm looking at here, that I have displayed here, is for a shipping supervisor. These pages can be all different formats and looks and feel to them. And I'll show you several different ones that I've actually created as we go through the rest of the demo. What they have in common, though, is Oracle has created an alert, analyze, and act makeup of these pages. Alerts being in the left-hand column here, we have what are called watch lists. This is where you would really look to multiple times throughout your day to see how various aspects of your system are performing. Things that are critical to your daily job that you want to know that, hey, is there something that I really need to do immediately based on some of these things that I'm watching, these lists that I'm watching. Middle of the screen can be an application. Here we've shown it is a group of 4 different graphical, I'm going to call them reports, but in fact they're interactive, so they're even better than a report. And these are created with the new reporting tool called OneView Reporting. That's been around for a couple years. Again, going back to what Steve has said about the user experience, so many of the things that Oracle is continuing to put into JD Edwards involves efficiencies for the user. So these things are interactive. You can see as I hover over them, I get the different values to pop up. If I want to come in and erase one of them to give me a better view of everything else that's in there, you see how I'm able to do this. These reports have drill down capability. If you want to go into the details of the data that makes up the report or the chart, you can do that. So that's the analyze piece, and then the act piece is over here on the right-hand column in this page. This is a springboard in the right-hand column that gives you applications that you use on a daily basis to act on the issues or performance that you see on the alert and analyze pieces of the page. Again, note that these are role-based. This is for a shipping supervisor. There are lots of them, and they are also where the security for what you can view and see and get at is really started to be implemented in JD Edwards. You've got some icons up here, lots of ways to quickly jump around the system and some shortcuts. You've got a home button that always jumps you back to this page. You've got a navigator where it's basically the old, oh, I didn't want to show you that. That's the old menu trees. You don't need them anymore. The days of digging down through 4, 5, 6 layers of menus to try to look for program or applications is over. Everything you'll need is here front and center. No more digging through menus. So everyone please applaud to that. Open applications. If you have multiple applications open, you can either jump back and forth using this, or you can open them in separate windows. But I'm going to show you something later on that really has, again, minimized the need to have multiple windows open, as you will be able to see multiple applications open right next to each other and tied together. Another really cool feature that we'll see. Your recent reports, if I want to get back to something that I created recently. Favorites, a list of additional watch lists that may not be listed on this page, and notifications. Again, a very new and recent development from Oracle that allows you to get notifications when you're not logged into JD Edwards. You can receive them via email, via text message, and those messages can actually have embedded links to take you directly to whatever critical feature the message or notification is alerting you about. Really, really modern stuff that everyone asked for years, and it's here now, and it's terrific. All right, so I'm going to flip over now to one of the other pages that I've created. This one might be for maintenance of customers and items. So maybe you don't use this every day, but this is here for when you have to go in and maintain customers or item information. So let's look at an item master. Steve mentioned that JD Edwards has lots and lots of industries that it services. And it really goes in depth in the ability to have detailed processing and functionality for those industries. That lends itself to lots of fields and lots of data. Not everybody needs to see all of these data fields. So right now I've got an item master browse up. We've got lots of fields here that you can see. You know, there's lots. But what it also looks like is an Excel spreadsheet. It has characteristics that are very similar to Excel. So a lot of the things that you think you can do in Excel, you can do in the J.D. Edwards grid or application that you see that has rows and columns on it. If I want to take a column description here and shrink it, I can simply drag. If I want to take a field and move where that column is, it's another drag and drop. If I want to right click and hide a field, I can do that. Freeze. Freeze the left-hand columns, so when I scroll, I keep the pertinent information static on the left-hand columns. So again, all of this is available to the end user. So you don't need to go to IT to say, hey, can you move some columns around for me? Those days are over. You have additional functionality within working with your grid. If I wanted to start from scratch and create a new grid, watch how easy this is. I'm going to do item number, description, search text, stocking type, and a few of the sales codes. I'm also going to change one of these. I change sales code 1 and make it a color. And I can make it bold or whatever if I want. Give it a name. So I save that. And it's done. I could always switch back and forth. I could have multiple personalized grids. You can take these and create these and push them out to users. So not everybody has to create their own. When you do this, you can give them the option of still modifying this to their use. So you could give them a starting grid that you've already modified and created and have them use it from there. All of the user experience functions that I'm going to show you here are all really that easy and have that capability. You determine who has the ability to create them and who gets them and whether or not you want to distribute them throughout a department or et cetera. Really simple to do. I'm going to now go into one of these items. Again, lots of fields. Look, we got different tabs here. You may not need all these. When you go in to create a new item master, I don't want to have to dig around and search for the fields that I want. Maybe I only need to enter 10 fields out of the hundreds that are available. Again, J.D. Edwards serves many industries, and it does it with very detailed, specific functionality, which is great. That's why you don't need mods. But somebody that's entering a new item, I may not care about a print message. So you know what? There's now personalization I could do if I no longer want the print message. It's gone. I can take an entire block of stuff out if I don't need any of that. And if I wanted to move fields, I can do that too. And then quickly save this as you saw in the previous part of the demo. And clean up things that I don't need to see, making it very simple I could reorder everything and just have boom, 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 my 10 fields that I want to see all together that I need to add. Again, so I could have personalization that has different layouts and formats. And you can push this out to end users. So not everybody needs to get into this. You can save it to super users and maybe possibly some business analysts. But it's really fantastic that IT does not need to be involved. There's no builds or deployments or things that need to occur. You saw how simple it is. And that's, again, where Oracle has put so much R&D recently and continues to do that type of R&D for J.D. Edwards. Again, looks like an Excel spreadsheet. Look at this little icon that I've hovered over, export grid data. Okay. I can export to Excel, a CSV, to a clipboard. I could export selected range of that data if I want. And it's exported out, and it'll launch Excel, and here it is. Now, maybe an item master isn't exactly what you'd use this for. You might want to use it for more accounting purposes, or maybe some additional things where you might be doing dollar or finance, other things that have sales order information and such on there, and quantities. But note, it's very, very simple to do to get that data out of J.D. Edwards. Similarly, if you are an input-capable screen, you can import data into J.D. Edwards, either by using the tool that I just showed you that reverses and does an import from Excel, or copy and paste. I can copy and paste outside of J.D. Edwards into Excel, or I could copy and paste into an input-capable grid. Can't get any easier than that. So if you have a lot of spreadsheets today that you're wanting to integrate, customers send you things in a spreadsheet, you can easily get that data into J.D. Edwards. All right. So let's now go into one of my favorite pieces of the user experience. I mentioned before, you don't need to have a bunch of windows open any longer. Why not? There's something now called Cafe One. Composite Application Framework for Enterprise One. All right, so what does that mean? Well, you can have different layouts now with your personalization. So let me go into a sales order. Let me bring up a new sales order. Hit the little plus icon, because you can tell that's for the ad is. Over here, hiding on the right-hand side, you probably don't notice it. But if I pop it open, I've opened up Sales Order Inquiry, showing me the most recent sales orders that have been entered. When I go and put in my ship to, and again, note as I enter data like sales orders or customers, I don't need a customer number anymore or an item number. If you are familiar with J.D. Edwards from, 5-10 years ago, you no longer need an item number or a customer number. Everything is by description. So if a customer calls, you don't need to find out what their customer number is or go search. You just know their name. So I'm going to do Bob's Hardware because I just typed in Bob. Now, note the data on the right-hand side. It refreshed. What it's done, as I've entered Bob's Hardware, it's now selected all of Bob's Hardware's recent orders. The blue highlighted ones are ones that have already shipped and completed and are invoiced. But this is showing me recent orders. Why? Why was that important? If I'm a CSR and I'm on the phone with a customer who's placing an order, maybe they have a hard time remembering an item that they ordered previously. Well, I can quickly search on that item and search by a description. Oh yeah, here's some that you got. Is it this? Or If I got them on the phone and I look and say, oh, geez, you know what? You ordered a straight section pipe a few months ago. You haven't ordered it again. You stopped ordering it. Why? Was there a reason that you stopped ordering this? You can get a lot of information there at your fingertips. I don't need to leave this screen. And this capability, this Cafe One, is for any J.D. Edwards application. You can tie in or display any other J.D. Edwards application or stuff outside of J.D. Edwards. And let's see what I mean by that. So I'm going to go back to my home page, jump back over to customer and item. Okay, if I'm bringing up an item master now, again, note that I can have these queries that I'm going to show you about. I'm going to show you. And here's a Cafe One where I've integrated a website, Granger. As I click on one of these items, note it ties to Granger's website and will bring up that item in Granger. Again, this is just an example of some of the things that you can do. Really high-tech stuff that doesn't take a high-tech scientist to get it done. Okay, so I've got all these fields. I found a way to shorten or hide or simplify some of the screens. Well, what about the data? How do I filter data? The most simple way to do it are these open boxes at the top of each column. I can do it that way. However, it's pretty limited. You can only put one value in each. Your date functionality is limited. What if I wanted something more complex? Well, now there are built-in queries. Note when I go to create a query, look what it did. It created all these pluses on top. So all I have to do is click the column that's associated on top. So if I wanted to say, give me, let's start with an item. I want to see a couple of items. So I'm going to say in a list, item 221, 220, and 210. Or I could do over customer, so on and so forth. And I want to say requested date. Now here's one of my really most valuable things about the queries. Not only can I, for the dates, can I do all these greater than, less than, so on and so forth, but the actual variable to say compare to isn't just a date. I can go from today. So I don't have to change these queries. If I said, show me everything, greater than December 1st. Well, a month from now, my query would be really big. So if I want to say today plus or minus 180 days, it's always going to say 180 days from today. And I have lots of options. I can set it as default. Again, I'm just giving you a quick overview of this. And now I find, there I go. There's my items. There's my dates. My queries, I can have lots of queries. Again, I can do all records. And again, these queries can be pushed out and secured or given to specific users. So not everybody has to go through all this work to create queries. So much of this will be created during an implementation and ready for day one. day one of using the system, making everyone way more efficient. If I had to come in every day and said, well, geez, I want to go look at the data and sales orders for my most important customer, and every day I had to do these filters and everything, that's a waste of time. Now I can just pop over to my saved queries and run them and drop them down and get that data instantly. Don't have to worry about making a mistake on a data filter where I don't see something because I filtered improperly. Attachments. You can get in and look at really anything that's an object. Anything that's an object, you have the ability to go in and add pictures, text messages or text data, what else? Let me show you. All right. Word documents, PowerPoints, Excel, again, anything that's a file, URLs, any of this, you can save and it tags along with that row of data. Pretty much any row of data in JD Edwards, whether it's item or customer master data, sales order detailed lines, purchase orders, work orders, transactions, receipts, shipments, anything that has a row of data, you can tie attachments to. And you can determine where those attachments print, whether they print on external customer facing or are they just internal. Maybe I don't want to accidentally print, hey, this customer is always late. I don't want to accidentally print that on their packing list. But maybe I do want to print on a packing list that says, make sure to use double boxes or something. Or make sure that this customer has wood heat-treated pallets. So you determine where they print. Again, those attachments can stay through a transaction throughout the history of that transaction. And by the way, you can determine where to store those attachments. You can store them internally in JD Edwards, or you can store them on a cloud database. Okay, so we mentioned earlier the watch list. Those watch lists are built on top of the queries that you saw me build, where I was filtering the data. So if I wanted to go into one of my watch lists, again, we saw watch lists earlier. I've got these watch lists look a little bit different. But if I want to see orders on credit hold, how many do you think there are? Yeah, there's 5. If I click on that, it shows me the application with the filters for those 5 orders. These are, again, used throughout the system, not just sales orders. You can use this over any data, any row of data, any application that's available. And, not many people create applications anymore, but if you did, you could use that as well. Searching. People, again, for a long time, users have wanted a way to quickly get things that maybe they needed to look for. I'm not sure. I don't have my customer master in front of me. Can I go search for this? Certainly. Let me take a look. I want to see all customers that are in the city of Cincinnati. So I can just type on Cincinnati, and it shows me all the customers located in Cincinnati. There's not any supplier items named Cincinnati or item masters or asset masters. If I wanted to type in bike, now I get more stuff. There are actually customers named bike with a bike in the name. There are lots of items with bike. Same thing whether I wanted, if I could type an invoice number or a sales order number. Quickly find it. These searches that you see here are customizable. You can create these just as you've seen for the queries and the grids. Again, don't need IT to do it. They're very simple to do. Here, some of these come with additional information. I wanted to see, show me all the sales orders with this item, or open POs. There aren't any bill of materials with it, but there are some parts lists. And of course, to be able to jump quickly around, here I could jump into the item master if I wanted. Again, customizable to what actions are available on any of these searches. Really, really powerful. When I've shown these to JD Edwards users that didn't have this, well, let me just tell you that I'm a very popular person. We mentioned the one-view reporting and mobile apps. Those are things that are really, again, game changers in the ability of JD Edwards to adapt to modern workplaces. The one-view reporting is similar to what you saw with the queries, where you get the pluses on each column and you select the columns that I want in the report. And the mobile apps work on iPads and tablets, as well as they have one specific for smartphones, so they're a little more condensed. Well, at that, I'm going to get over now into the little scenario I'm going to show. So we're going to go through sales order entry, and we're going to ship a sales order using some of the tools that I've shown you here in the navigation. So we'll go into a sales order. I'm going to hit plus. Again, you got a plus, you got fines, you got other things that the icons show you pretty much exactly, very simple things that you can understand what they are. I'm going to type in, starting with Rich, get Richard's products. Maybe I want a PO. Don't necessarily have to have one, but you can make it required if you want. Again, it's configuration in JD Edwards is very vast. Go down to show an item. And I'm going to start with a bike. And as I continue to type, you notice that it will filter for me. I'm going to just put in a quantity of 1 here. Note that all the information is stored. You get pricing that's customer specific. You have the ability to look and see whether or not something is available. And one of the other things that I love, there's an add-on within JD Edwards called in-memory applications. It doesn't really mean a lot to you, but what it does is give you some really terrific functionality. For example, this supply monitor, it's green. I ordered one of these and I wanted it requested date for today. If I go look at the supply monitor, it gives me a visual map. Well, I've got over 9,000 of these available right now. And it looks like in a couple of weeks, there's an increase. So I must have either a PO or a work order that's going to be finished, something. If I change this now to 10,000, what do you think is going to happen? Now, it gives me a warning. It exceeds what's available because this is not available right now, and I'm not going to get everything I wanted. If it was really bad and I was out of material and I tried to order any, I'd get a red if I couldn't get any. Yellow says you can get some. Well, let me see how much. Okay, so here's my order, and it does drive it a little bit negative, so I can tell I can't get everything. But what if I ordered after that PO was received? So my requested date, let me change it to 12/20. You notice it's not available today, but on my supply monitor tells me I have it all available if I want it on the 20th. So there is my order. And again, this is not just taking into account this particular sales order. This is everything that's ordered through the system. So note, I still have available quantity even after this order. Very visual. Makes it really easy for a customer service rep to go on the phone with somebody and say, oh my goodness, Okay, well, here's when you can get it. Here's when I see available. I don't need to dig through a supply and demand screen. I can see it visually right in front of me. In addition, we have something called Line Advisor. Well, what does Line Advisor do? If I click it, shows me I have some quantity discounts. Maybe instead of ordering one, maybe I ordered 20. So Line Advisor says, oh, geez, at 25, I get a discounted price. Wouldn't that be nice to be able to tell the customer right there, hey, do you know if you ordered 5 more, you'd get a better deal? Again, really easy to see this. So at this point, I'm just gonna, well, let's see. I'm gonna order more than one. I'll order 5. Save the order. My order number is 153,473. Got the quantity field highlighted, so I can see that. Now let's go through and go over to the shipping screen. Now, one thing to note, orders in JD Edwards have statuses. They go through status flows. These are easily configurable by item, by customer, by warehouse or facility, and lots of other ways to customize or to actually configure, rather, the pattern or path that a sales order will take. Maybe some customers want an order confirmation emailed to them, but others don't. You can configure that. Maybe certain orders need approvals. You can configure that. Maybe an order over 100,000 needs a credit check. You can configure that. Not only by hold codes, but also by order statuses. So I've placed that order. I'm going to go over to my shipping page. Again, we're going to do an example here where we have options on what we're looking at as far as my process. I'm not going to do a pick, pack, ship. Those are typically done with held hand scanners, in which you can tie into JD Edwards very easily to do that. So you have the ability to go in and use your watch list to determine what you need to do next. This order is not yet ready to be shipped. It's ready for the pick slip to be printed, though. That's what that tells us. So if I go back here, when I would see that, a shipment that would be ready to pick would pop up here. Right now that order is on hold, so it's not ready to be picked. If I go look at shipments that are also available and open in the system, again, these have statuses. If I scroll down to one of the recent ones, let's take a look at some of the things I have here. This is in the transportation module in JD Edwards. You don't have to have transportation, but it gives you some really great values. For example, routings. Let's take a look at this. I have LTL shipments for these bikes. It's chosen National Express. It's a $95 payable charge. If I wanted to increase and make some money on transportation and freight, I could do that. I could increase the billable charge and have it automatically tack on 5 or 10% or a certain dollar amount, etc. Le Mans Transport also services this zip code. It's a little more expensive. The best way turns out to also be the most expensive way in this case. $8,800 to do that. Well, probably never going to send bikes for $8,000, but why is that a little bit more expensive in this case? This is not real life data, by the way. I have 5 lead days, but in this one, best way can get it there in 1 day. The other 2 LTL options have 2 transit days. So again, I could ship this a day later and still get it there by a certain delivery date. Or, if the customer really needs it overnight, transportation routing options tells me where that can go. The best thing about J.D. Edwards Transportation, again, there are lots of modules. I'm focusing here on the shipping side of things. Delivery documents. I'm going to spend a couple minutes on that. Basically, when you go to ship out material, the guys in the shipping office need to figure out what documents need to go. J.D. Edwards does that for you. You can set up document sets for delivery documents. In this case, I have the following: a bill of lading, a COA with quality results. I might want to print an invoice to go with it, especially if it's a international shipment where you need a commercial invoice, or a Canadian customs invoice if it's going to Canada, a manifest, a packing list. I can integrate labels. Note that there's 6 documents for this particular shipment. I've got another shipment, it's the same ship to address. If I look at those documents, there's now also a hazardous document, material safety data sheet. That's because this shipment had a different item on it. These document sets can be set up to configure by customer or item or carrier. Again, lots of options there on determining what documents print and how many. If you have a parcel carrier, it won't print a bill of lading. If you have a customer that says, I want you to use my packing list, well, you know what? You use the J.D. Edwards tool, the BI Publisher, to create a form for that customer using for their packing list, and it will automatically always print their packing list for that customer. Saves oodles of time. Guys in the shipping office see this, and I've implemented this, and it just saves so much time in their day. They don't need to remember that stuff anymore. So, going back to ship, now there's 2 stages to this shipment confirmation. First, I've got a pending order. I'm going to just approve this shipment. So what that does is it says, I'm going to start actively working with this. It will also notify customer service by bumping a status of the sales order that says the warehouse is working on this. So if a customer calls and wants to make a change to the order, the customer service rep knows immediately by the status whether or not the warehouse has started processing it. Do I need to call the warehouse and say, hey, can I still have time to get this attached before you ship it? So when I look at that, I've gone from pending now to approved, and then a shipment confirmation. Again, I'm going to do this here within J.D. Edwards. I don't need to do it here. Normally it would happen on a scanner, but I've got a ship date and time, and I can come down and verify that I shipped the 5 quantity, what lot it might be if it was there, if it was a lot product, and there, that's shipped. And now, with that confirmation, you can automatically get an advanced shipment notice that's sent either EDI or email to the customer immediately. And now this order, since it's ship confirmed, is now ready for invoicing. The invoicing can be done immediately as it's shipped, or it can be done on a scheduled job at the end of the day or multiple times throughout the day. And again, those invoices can be generated via email or EDI, or if you really wanted to print it and mail it, you can still do that. Sometimes there are places with customers that don't have email or EDI. So I've showed you navigation on how to get around JD Edwards, showed you some of the cool functionality involved in sales order entry and shipping. Hope you got a nice idea of what the system can do and why Oracle continues to put R&D into this product. And it's still a really terrific user experience now, in addition to having wonderful functionality. And then with that, I'm going to send it back to Steve, see if we got any questions.
Yeah, Steve, thank you very much. Nice job showing us JD Edwards today. Appreciate your time in doing that. I'll remind everybody who hasn't submitted a question, if you do have any, just type those into your GoToWebinar pane and hit send, and Steve and I will try to answer anything that you do submit. Steve, a question specifically for you, since you've used a variety of ERP packages, what do you like best about JD Edwards compared to other ERPs?
When I'm working with or implementing JD Edwards, I love the fact that I'm probably never going to have to do a modification. What needs to be done can either be configured in the software, or there's a better business process that will be able to be used in JD Edwards without modifying anything. That and the fact that it does have so much already, so many fields, that there is a place for everything. So if I know I've got a new piece of data, I can find where it's supposed to go in JD Edwards.
Yeah, and I'll add to that a little bit, Steve, to say that, you know, JD Edwards does have a complete tool set to allow you to make customizations if you need to, or if you choose to. You know, you can build tables in JD Edwards, screens, fields, code that goes behind those fields and screens to do custom operations. But like Steve Mowchan said, a lot of times you don't need to do that because all that robust functionality. Okay, next question. With an on-premise system, are upgrades disruptive to businesses? So that's a really good question, and kind of contrast that with some of the cloud solutions we've seen previously in the week, where we talk about how leave on Friday, upgrade happens on the weekend, you come back on Monday and everything works. Typically with on-premise solutions, your upgrades can be more disruptive as we're applying an upgrade to a system, to a server, testing it, and then deploying it. JD Edwards has changed this approach over the last year or so to make upgrades less disruptive. They are, as opposed to releasing what they call major releases, they're now releasing point releases. So taking more of an incremental approach so that customers can stay up to date with new releases and stay you know, up to speed with that innovation Oracle's bringing out, and that makes it a lot less disruptive. You're talking about a day or two of work versus, you know, months of disruptive upgrades. So good questions. I don't see any others. So Steve, thank you for your time in demonstrating today, and thank you everyone who joined us and took time out of your day to take a look at JD Edwards. Please join us again at 2 p.m. Eastern as we will talk through what Terillium has seen as success factors for your ERP implementation. Thank you, everyone.